The new movie Noah portrays Methuselah, recorded to be the oldest man who ever lived, the age of 969. Noah was said to have been 950 years old. So, regardless of how you read the Bible, some people say it's literally to be taken for face value. Some people think it's completely fiction. Where does the idea come from in the film that Methuselah could have died in the Great Flood? Well, the answer is real simple. It's in Genesis 5, and it talks about the line of patriarchs. And so it says Methuselah was 187 when he had his son Lamech. And then Lamech, who lived to be 182 when he had his son Noah. You add those up and you get 369 years old. Now, I'll tell you about the ages in a second and how this could have been. But the Bible says Noah lived to be 500, and then he had some sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Those are the famous kids who are on the account of surviving the flood. And Noah is told to build an ark, and when he is 600 years old, the flood comes. So, at Noah's 600th year, the flood comes. That is Methuselah's 969th year. Hence, he was alive the year the waters came. Now, tradition typically holds, we have Greek translations, Hebrew translations. Some people say Methuselah died 7 days before the flood. Some traditions hold he died 6 years before the flood. Some say that he lived to be 14 years beyond the flood. And of course, a lot of people say that Genesis is a mythological telling of something, and these people never even really existed. But the idea of where Methuselah dying in the flood comes from is the timing of the numbers from Genesis, the book of Enoch, some other sources, extra-biblical sources, and things like this. So how do we get the idea that people could have lived to be 900 years old? How do you take that literally? Well, some people believe it was God's miraculous power, that maybe we were all intended to be created as eternal, perfect beings, but sin came in, corrupted the system, and slowly lifespans shortened until you have Moses living to be 120 years old. Some people think it was actually a misinterpretation, that 969 years was actually months. So really, Methuselah, if you take 969 months, that was just 78 years old. But if Enoch was 65 when he had Methuselah, and those were months, he would have been 5 years old. So other people come in and say it was symbolic, that these big numbers are multiples of 5 and 10. You see Enoch was 16 when he had his son. Noah wasn't 500 when he had his children, he was 50. So there's a lot of different ways that people read this, and of course some people say it's all meaningless because it's just fiction. But the tradition that gives us Methuselah being alive to see the building of the flood are these old ancient sources. Lamech, by the way, was supposed to be 777 years old, and the account says that he lived 595 years into the life of Noah, which would have killed him 5 years before the waters came. So regardless of how you read it, literally or not, that's where the idea started. So that's why Anthony Hopkins is there looking for a berry as the great apocalypse of water comes.